So the shawl I'm knitting on has a double decrease. It's a slip-on, knit two together, pass slip stitch over, and it happens to be across a where I've got a marker, so it kind of straddles the pattern repeat. I put a marker just at the start of the pattern repeat, and the slip-on, knit two together, pass slip stitch over takes in those 3 stitches. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it without actually taking the marker off. So I'm going to slip the first stitch, and then the knit 2 together is across that marker, so the stitch before and the stitch after the marker. Now this helps if you have a small marker like I've got. So this marker is quite small, it's only just slightly bigger than my 4mm needles. But what I want to do is I want to go into the next 2 stitches just like for a normal knit 2 together, but make sure I don't put my needle through the marker, obviously. So I'm putting my needle in below the marker, so that you can see that, so it doesn't interfere with the marker. So I'm going to knit those 2 together, and then I'm going to just take the first stitch off so the marker stays on. Then I'm going to lift the slip stitch over, and now I'm going to slip the marker across and then take the second of those knit 2 together off. So I've now got the slip-on, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over on my right hand needle and the marker in the correct place after it. So let me just knit to the next marker, and I'll show you how to do it again. So normally when you do this kind of stitch, a decrease that straddles the marker, you tend to quite often have to take the marker off. So that would mean slipping those 2 stitches across the right hand needle, taking the marker off, then slipping those 2 stitches back, do your decrease, and then put a marker back on, which can be a bit of a hassle. So this is much easier, and you can do this for knit 2 together as well. I haven't tried it for SSK yet, but it definitely works for knit 2 together. So I'm going to slip on stitch knitwise, and then I'm going to knit the next 2 stitches together, but avoiding the markers. So I'm putting my needle in below the markers, so it helps that my marker is quite small. Knit those 2 together. And then I'm just going to take the first one of those knit 2 together off, and make sure my marker doesn't fall off. So keeping the marker on there, pass the slip stitch over, then slip my marker across, and then I can let that second one of the knit 2 together go off. So just make sure that you do slip that second one of the knit 2 together off, and then I'm going to carry on. So that was just very quickly how to do the slip-on, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over, when the decrease kind of straddles the markers, so you don't have to take the marker off. Hello, welcome to episode 12 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast. My name is Anniken, and it's lovely to have you here. So I've started this episode with a little tutorial. It's if you have a double decrease, like a slip-on, knit 2 together, pass slip stitch over, and there's a yarner in the middle of that decrease, it can be a bit of a nuisance because you have to take the marker off, do your decrease, put it back on again. It's a bit of a hassle. So I've shown you a way that you can do it with the marker in place. So I shared this tutorial on my Instagram feed and on my in my Love of Lace Knitting Facebook group this week. So I thought I'd share it here as well at the beginning of this podcast. So I hope that's helpful for you. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see it there as well. I may upload it separately as a tutorial, but because it's quite a short one, I wasn't sure that I was going to do that. But if you're in my Facebook group or you follow me on Instagram, you will find it there as well. And if you don't follow me in those 2 places, you're not a member of the Facebook group, then the links are below so you can follow me. So welcome to episode 12 of the Confessions of a Yarn Addict podcast. My name is Anniken, and I live in Cornwall in the southwest of England, but I'm originally from Norway. And today I'm going to share pattern that I'm just about to release, which will hopefully be released by the time this by the time this podcast is available. And I'm going to share 2 things on my needles, one thing that's about to go on my needle, and a new stash acquisition. And then I'm going to talk about gift knitting, which is something that I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about at the moment. But we'll just quickly go through the other things I want to share first. So first up, the Resprin shawl, which is the, you've heard me talk about this over the last few months. This is the shawl I cast on. I started when we were on holiday in Spain in September, and I got to like the beginning of the lace section, I think, on holiday. I can't remember. It's knitted in 3 colours of Swedish yarn called Vexpor Lingarn, which is linen, 100% linen. It's about a 4-ply fingering weight yarn. So you can substitute it with other yarns that have about, I think it's about 400 meters per 100 gram. I used 3 colors, but I didn't use the full skein of all 3 colors. So in the pattern, I've included how much I've used of each color. So if you want to use the yarn from your stash, or you want to do it in 2 colors, you absolutely can do instead. I'm also going to put the link to, if you're in the UK, I'm going to put the link to Knit with Attitude in London, which is one of the UK stockists of this linen yarn from Sweden. So I'll put that below as well. So really pleased for this. It is huge. Love it. I haven't actually worn it much yet because I try and keep things kind of looking pristine till I'm about to release it. But it's a really big shawl. Really like it. If you're looking for non-wool yarns, this is really great. Really like this. I'm actually going to just leave it on this over my, I'll probably mainly wear it kind of just across my shoulders like that. You can't see it because I'm sitting down, but it kind of comes down to halfway down my forearm, so about down here. So you can just throw it over your shoulders just as a sort of cover up. It covers quite nicely. It kind of hangs straight down the front. Really like it. Really pleased with it. I'll try and remember to add some photos at the end of this video. By the time I publish this podcast, hopefully the pattern will be released. So I'll put all the links to this below. The shawl's called Resprin, which is the place near where I live in Cornwall. So yeah, really like it, really happy with it. I'm a little bit cold. I was a bit hot when I came into my office, so I only put a t-shirt on, left my jumper on the stairs, and then opened the window to cool down a bit, and now it's got a little bit chilly. So I'm going to keep this on just to stay warm. So as soon as oh, I've also finished, so this I finished a while ago, but the pattern is now ready. I've also finished a blue and grey shawl that I've been knitting on recently with the Blackie Yarns Blueface Leicester. I didn't bring it upstairs to show because I haven't woven in the ends or blocked it yet. Need to get on and do that before the weekend. I also cast on something new. This is actually something I showed you last week. I don't think I cast on for this last week. I should have checked my notes from last week, but I forgot. But last week I shared a mini skein set called Pop mini skein set from Fab Funky Fibers. These are 3 of the mini skeins I have left. So I am knitting, make quite good progress on this. I did knit a chunk the other day when I was out meeting a friend for lunch, and a few hours of knitting. Then I came home and ripped it all out. But because I changed the shaping of the shawl a little bit, and then I came home and changed my mind. So it's got a lot of garter stitch, a little bit of very simple lace. I might change up the lace pattern a little bit. I haven't decided yet. But I'm on the second. I'm about halfway through the second mini skein. I love this mini skein set. Just love the colours, but I also like it because instead of just having like 200 gram balls and then feeling like your balls aren't getting any smaller, with this you feel like you're making progress. So when I finished the first mini skein, I was like, oh yeah, finished it. Now because I'm obviously designing this as a pattern, I'm actually allowing a little bit of a leeway with the mini skein. So I'm allowing a tiny bit of safety margin. So I'm not knitting up the whole of each mini skein, but that's the one that's coming next, then that one, and then that one at the end. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really enjoying knitting on it. Throw that down on the floor. Really enjoying knitting on that. Last night, we were planning to go to the cinema this weekend, and I always take a sock with me to knit. So last night I actually spent the evening finishing the first of my woolly stanza socks. So I haven't done the afterthought heel yet, so you can just about see, well, you can't see very well because it's I call it like yellow. It's yellow, and there's yellow in the yarn, but there's a waist yarn there for the heel. I haven't done the heel yet. I tend to do the heel at the end when I've finished both socks, and then I'll undo the waist yarn and do the heel on both of them, which I'll usually just do in an evening. But I finished the first one. I did 58 rounds between the end of the toe and the where I put the waist yarn in for the heel, and then I did 80 rounds for the leg. So I finished the first one last night, so that if we go to the cinema this weekend, I've got the second sock ready to go. I started the toe, so I'm doing a circular toe, swirly toe, sorry. This is from my Aventuras pattern. That's the toe. This is my Aventuras pattern. I'll put the link to that below. I do have an online course in this as well. But I started the toe last night. I need to, if I'm going to take this to the cinema, I need to finish the toe first. So I might actually sit down and do that tonight. Shouldn't take me very long, so I'll probably do that tonight. So if we go to the cinema this weekend, I can just grab that because it's just a knit to purl to rib, so it's fairly easy to do in the cinema. Okay. So my dog is going to start barking there. There's some work going on across the road from us, and my dog normally sleeps downstairs during the day, but he's on my bed because he tends to jump up on there in the morning while I work out, and I left him there because I thought he was less likely to bark at the neighbours across the road. They're having some building work done. Obviously our bedroom is right above our lounge, so he can still hear it in the lounge. So apologies, I don't think he barked very loud, so you hopefully couldn't hear it. So earlier this week, I was teaching, last Saturday actually, I was teaching a spinning yarn in Bobby Tracy, and as I was leaving, I saw this beautiful basket of hand-dyed yarns on the table, and I stopped to have a look, and this colour really called out to me. Isn't that pretty? It's sort of blues and lilacs, and it's just a really pretty colour. It's by a company called Lily Pond Yarns, and it's hand-dyed in Devon. And the colour is a merino silk colourway, 80% merino, 20% silk, and it's 365 meters per 100 grams. It's a little bit less than a lot of stock yarns, and it's called Ocean Deep, and I really like it. I like the fact that it's in Devon, hand-dyed in Devon, which is the next county over from where I live. We're about half an hour from the Devon-Cornwall border, so it's a local yarn really. I've seen Lily Pond at Spinning Yarn before because they've been stocking it for a while, I think, but I've never actually knitted with it before, so not quite sure what to do with that. I'm thinking I could do with a cowl to go inside my new winter coat, and I'm thinking this looks quite nice. This will go nicely with the colour of my coat, so I'm thinking I might knit a cowl with it. I did have another yarn kind of picked out for a cowl, but I might use this one instead. But at the moment it's just going to go in my stash because I'm not going to cast on for that cowl quite yet. Hopefully in December I'll get around to it. And then I've just actually printed off the pattern for a new design. So this is a design that I actually charted out and I wrote up the pattern probably 2 years ago. And the last 2 winters I've been meaning to knit this and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I've decided it's time to get this on my needles. Partly because my hands have been really cold this week, so I could do with a new pair of mittens. I wear hand warmers a lot when I walk the dog in dry places and things. But sometimes I think when I walk out there I could do with a pair of mittens, and I don't have any mittens at the moment. So I've decided to knit a pair of Selby inspired mittens. So Selby mittens are, I'll show you these. These are ones that my mum knitted. So these are traditional Norwegian Selby mittens from Norway. I've designed a couple of pairs in the past. My winter votted. I tend to go for slightly more non-traditional colorways. So they're traditionally done in black and white, but I tend to go for more non-traditional colorways. So that's the winter votter in grey and bright green. I do have this one in a purple and grey as well, but I can't find them at the moment. And then this is my waffle votter pattern with a picot cuff. So this one's got a rib cuff. This one's a little bit more unisex, I think, whereas this one's probably a little bit more feminine with the rib cuff, picot cuff. This is called Waffle Votter. They've both got Norwegian names. So I got this other pattern, charted it out a couple of years ago. It's all ready to go. I just haven't gotten around to knitting it. I get kind of like to March and then I think, oh, winter's nearly over, there's no point. So I thought I will get this on my needles. I picked out these 2 yarns to use. Really like these together. I have actually knitted some swatches with this yarn recently. So this is not something that's become a design yet, but it might do. So I'm not going to show you all of it, but that's how these 2 colours knit up together. So they're knitted up quite nicely together. Oh, hang on. I just dropped one of my balls on the floor. I was a little bit worried there wasn't quite enough contrast, but I quite like it. It's a little bit more subtle. So those are the two I'm planning to use together. So I've just printed off the pattern now. So I'm going to cast this on today. But I will kind of finish them. I could probably, if I put my mind to it, finish them by the end of the weekend. But I'll do that or not, I don't know. It depends on how much I knit on the shawl. I also want to knit that mini skein shawl. I want to finish that as soon as possible, because we are middle of November now, and I'd really like to have the pattern ready for December, which means I really need to finish it by the end of next week to have any hope of that happening. So I don't know. I'll see. I'll start these today, and then I'll see how it goes. If they take, I could probably knit them fairly quickly, but we'll see. Not quite decided whether I'll push on and try and get them finished, or whether I'll do it a little bit slower and take a bit longer over it. We'll see. Okay, so that's all the knitting and stash acquisitions I have to show you. I actually got 2 balls of Lang Merino 120s. It's the same as the yarn I just showed you for the mittens, but it's the DK version of it. I got 2 balls of that to spinny yarn as well to knit some more of these Christmas balls, which I shared in a previous episode, and there'll be more about these in December. But I left them downstairs. They're ready to. I've got a couple of other Christmas balls charted out. It'll probably be a free pattern with some kind of online tutorial in December, but I need to. That's another thing I kind of want to get on with this weekend, so we'll see. Okay, so main thing I want to talk about today is gift knitting. So do you knit gifts for other people? Handmade gift can be amazing. I love it if somebody gives me a handmade gift. Knowing that somebody's put the time and effort into it can be really, really nice if you appreciate handmade. Quite a few years ago, a friend baked me a cake for my birthday. Now, it was at a time age where my kids were still a little bit younger, so I wouldn't bake them a cake every year. But if I wanted a cake for my birthday, I had to make it myself, and I didn't usually bother because I don't particularly enjoy baking. And this friend actually made me a cake for my birthday, and it was really nice because it was the first time somebody other than my mum had made me a cake for my birthday, and it was really nice. And I know it wasn't something that was particularly expensive, but it was something that she'd put time and effort into, and I really appreciated that. And now, obviously, making a cake is less effort than it takes to knit something for someone. So, do you knit someone Christmas presents? Or do you sew or crochet or do any other handicrafts that take a bit more time? Have you put a lot of time and effort into making something for someone, not necessarily for Christmas, but any time of the year, and then they don't like it? What do you do if that happens? How does that make you feel? So a friend once knitted a hat for one of her friends. Now, my friend is not a very experienced knitter, and this hat had loads of new techniques for her. It was knitting in the round, using circular needles, lace pattern. The shaping was quite complicated. So for her, it was quite a difficult thing to do. It's quite a big challenge for her. And she gave it to her friend, and her friend didn't seem that excited about it, but said she liked it, said all the right things, but just didn't seem very excited. And then a few months later, she asked her friend, oh, I don't see you wearing that hat. Do you like it? And she said, well, actually, it's not quite my thing. The colours aren't quite my colours. She'd used quite expensive yarn as well, so it wasn't cheap. So I gave it to my daughter, and she's taken it with her to uni. And my friend was horrified. She was not happy by the fact that her friend had given it to her daughter to take to uni with her, because she wasn't sure that it would be appreciated. So she actually asked for the hat back. I don't know whether she ever got it back. Personally, I would rather it went to somebody who appreciated it. So if the daughter enjoyed it and was wearing it, then that would be fine for me. The first thing here is, if you give something to someone as a gift, you can't control what they do with it. Whether they like it or not, whether they give it straight to a charity or not, or wear it, it's out of your control. So I don't think you can control what they do with it once they have it. So that was one thing. But my friend was really, really upset about it. And I did sort of say to her that you've got to think about, before you knit something for someone, you have to think about a few things. And I want to share some of those things with you today. So this is just my view on knitting gifts for other people. If you enjoy knitting gifts for other people, great. And And whether you care about whether they like it or not, if you don't care about whether they like it or not, that's fine. I personally only like to knit gifts for people who are knit worthy. So are they going to appreciate the amount of time and effort I put into it? Knitting, depending on where you knit, it can cost a lot of money because yarn's not cheap. So sometimes I have a friend, it's this friend who knitted the hat for her friend that she didn't like. She's one of the few people I regularly give knitted things for Christmas. I don't tend to knit for a lot of people, but I know she really likes hand knitted things, and she's quite a slow knitter and she doesn't have that much time for knitting. So I know that she doesn't get a chance to knit that much for herself. So she's one of the few people that I give knitted things to for Christmas and for her birthday. I don't do it every year. But I do it regularly. She does have a bit of a habit of putting things in the washing machine when I tell her they have to be hand washed. But that's another story for another day. So when you make something for someone, you are more invested in it, I think, than if you buy something. So you put it's not just the money, it's also the emotional effort that you put into it. You get emotionally attached to something when you make it. Now, you may get to the point where you hate it at the end and you just want to finish it, or you might get to a point where you love it and you wish it wasn't finished. But whatever you think about the project, whether it's something you enjoy knitting or not, you do get emotionally attached to it. So if you give it to somebody and they don't appreciate the amount of time and effort you put into it, then that can be quite upsetting. I knitted something for, I don't want to say who it is, but it was somebody in my husband's side of the family. They asked me to knit them something, so I did. And it was a scarf, and I never saw them wear it. And this was early on in my design career, and I designed a scarf especially for these two people. I chose the yarn quite carefully. It cost me more money than what I would normally spend. And I never saw them wear it. And it's something that we see regularly, so I would have seen them wear it if they'd worn it. So I don't think they liked it. And I've never given them anything handmade again. And I wouldn't. Whereas I knitted my grandmother a few months before she passed away. It was actually her last winter, which obviously I didn't realise at the time. But I knitted a cashmere scarf. So the yarn was obviously quite expensive because it was cashmere. I can't remember, it was when I first started designing, so I can't remember whether I actually designed it or not. But I knitted a cashmere scarf and I gave it to her for Christmas. And apparently she used to wear it all the time. I went home a couple of months after Christmas because my grandfather became ill, and she was wearing it every day while I was there. And she was in a respite care unit at the time, so she wasn't at home with all her stuff. She only had limited amount of stuff with it. So the fact that he was there with her, I knew that she was wearing it regularly, and that just made me really happy. I knitted stuff for my nephews before, glow-in-the-dark hats, which I know they wore for a couple of years. And their boys, I don't think they were wearing it just because I was there. I think they actually did generally wear them. Helps in Norway because it's cold, so you do need warm things like hats, mittens, scarves, socks, that kind of thing. But I would only knit stuff now for people that appreciate it, which is mainly my side of the family probably, and a few friends. I know, and I think the people who appreciate handmade more are people who actually make stuff themselves. So people who actually knit, crochet, sew, or have some kind of craft that takes time. I think they appreciate handmade stuff a lot more than a lot of people do. So if I'm considering knitting something for someone, I think about a couple of things. One, will they appreciate it? Two, how much time and effort is this going to take me, and how much is it going to cost me? Is that worth the appreciation I will get back? I probably wouldn't knit a sweater for somebody, maybe my daughters if they asked me, but not for anyone else. I would give them one of my old sweaters that'd been in a magazine, one of my old samples. That'd be fine, but I wouldn't knit a sweater for somebody, I don't think, unless it was my daughters or my husband. I would do for them. And also, does it cause you stress? So if you have a long list of people that you want to knit for a Christmas, is that going to cause you stress? Do you start it in January, so by the time Christmas comes around, you have a box of things ready to give away? Or do you think about it in November and then you're thinking, right, I want to do 5 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of three shawls, 3 scarves, 2 hats, and then you count the days of Christmas and you're sitting up on Christmas Eve till way past midnight, still knitting, or you give stuff away half made, whatever. If you enjoy that, that's fine. But if it's causing you a lot of stress, is it really worth it? Especially bearing in mind that they may not like it that much. I don't. That's another reason I don't give Christmas presents, knitted Christmas presents very often. I did quite a few years ago. My kids were little. I decided I was going to knit everyone in my family socks for Christmas. So my parents, my sister, my daughters, my husband. My daughters were fine because they were quite little. My dad's got huge feet. I can't remember how many pairs of socks I managed to knit in the end, but I certainly didn't manage to knit them for the whole family, that's for sure. I think I knit them for my dad and maybe my sister or something. I think that was about it. And since then, I've rarely knitted Christmas presents, to be quite honest. I don't have time because most of my knitting time is to create new patterns. So unless it's something that I can publish as a pattern and then give the sample away, I probably wouldn't even consider knitting Christmas presents now. Although I am thinking about knitting my husband some socks to go in his Christmas stocking. Now, I would normally say socks are too expensive for Christmas stocking, but I knit him a lot of socks. Well, I don't knit him a lot of socks. I occasionally knit him socks anyway. So once I finish this pair I got on the needles at the moment, I might knit him a pair of socks. I'll see. So tell me in the comments below, do you knit Christmas presents? What are your criteria to decide if someone deserves a knitted present or not? Do you have a list of criteria? Mine is they have to appreciate handmade. They have to appreciate the amount of time and effort I put into it, and they have to be able to know how to look after it. Because knitting someone a big scarf with loads of cables in an expensive yarn, and you tell them it can only be hand washed, and they machine wash it and felt it so it turns out half the size, it's not much fun. Yes, that did happen to me. I have still knitted stuff for that person because I think she really does appreciate handmade, but I didn't knit her something for a couple of years after that. Anyway, that's my view on knitting as Christmas presents. Share your views below. I'd love to hear them. And I will leave the details for the Respirant shawl below. It will be out by the time I upload this podcast. Oh, one more thing I want to mention just quickly. If you're interested in learning how to knit Norwegian Selby mittens, I'm teaching it at the Knitting Corner in Sutton Coldfield in north of Birmingham, week Sunday. I think it's the 24th, but I'll put the details and the date below. And then a few days later, I think it's on the Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month, I'm teaching the same workshop at Spinner Yarn in Devon. I'll put the details of that below as well. And also, if you want to learn to knit socks from the toe up, I'm teaching that workshop at the Handmade Studios in Rowlands Castle, near Portsmouth. It is on the main, I think it's on the main train line from Waterloo to Portsmouth. And the train station is literally right next to the shop. So it is easy to get to if you need to get there by train. I'm going up on the train from Cornwall. It's not actually that expensive either, actually. Half the price compared to going to Birmingham. If you want to join me, I think there's a couple of spaces left. I know there's a couple of spaces left on the workshop, the Selby Mittens workshop in Birmingham, and I know there's some spaces left on the one in Devon as well. Those are my last 3 workshops this year. I'm currently working on filling up my list for next year, so I'll talk about that in December probably. Okay, I hope you have a lovely afternoon, a lovely day, sorry, or evening, or weekend, whatever you're doing. Have a lovely time, and tell me below what you're knitting as well. I'd love to hear what you're knitting. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, my link is below, and also the link to my Love of Lace Knitting Facebook group if you want to, if you're not already a member. Okay, have a lovely time, and thank you for watching.